Maybe. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the MSP Water Cooler with yours truly, Jonathan Schofield. My friends call me Skofi, and Robert Gillette, co-founder at the MSP Growth OS, and our special guests today, which are you. The MSP Water Cooler, we do this most Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we bring in folks that we respect and love in the industry and the community. And you, if you're watching this right now, if you're an IT service provider, you're in the MSP business, you focus on sales, business development, growing your IT business, then this is all about you, specifically the first 10 minutes, because what we're going to do in the first 10 minutes is drag your butts literally onto screen right now. And we've got a few butts here already, and we're so glad that you guys are here. And we want you to bring your hot takes, your challenging sales, business development, growth scenarios, or questions you have for Robert and I. And we're going to wrestle with your questions for the remainder of the show after the first 10 minutes. So thanks, everybody, for being here. We got Sam Disraeli, our producer. Wave and say hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
And then Jeff Sumner. Just take a brief second to introduce yourself. You get like a sentence.
I'm Jeff Sumner, and I like exploring the caves of the unknown.
Oh, so deep and mysterious. I love it. Ian, you take a crack at it. You got to be more mysterious than Jeff if you can.
I was going to say I don't have anything that cool. I'm Ian Romero, COO of K3 Technology.
So glad that you're here. That was mysterious enough. I think the beard makes up for the lack of mystery.
There you go. Yeah. It's all about the aesthetics.
I don't know that you need an introduction, but just say hi.
Yeah, that's good to see you, man. Good to see you all. Thank you guys for coming. Otherwise, it's just me and Skofi screaming into the void, which we do enough of. We don't need, to do it publicly. So
that's right. And then if you are watching online right now, I believe Sam has dropped the StreamYard link. If you would like to join the studio in these first 10 minutes with Jeff and Ian, and Ron just hopped on. Welcome, Ron.
What? Hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah, join us. All right, we've got like 8 minutes left. Ron, we already have your question queued up, so very excited. But let's just take a second. Who would like to go first? Does anyone have a complex sales scenario, MSP growth opinion, thought that they would just love to see Robert and I wrestle with during this segment today?
Ron goes first. He was patient from an entire week. I think Ron should go first.
We still have his written down, but yeah, do you remember what you asked, Ron?
Do I remember what I asked? Absolutely. I live it and breathe it. So 100% I remember what I'd asked. So my question to you both, and I was just watching a little bit of Growth Hacks, Kevin Clune stuff, in regards to transitioning from owner-led sales to a sales rep of some sort. What do you guys recommend as that transition? And how have you seen it fail and succeed today in the MSP space?
Well, there's so much juice
to unpack there, isn't
cool.
there?
That's 2 hours right there, man. We're good.
Content. I gave some content.
And that's just the 101 course, man. That's a
No, I thank you, Ron. That is fantastic. Great question. Sam, is there anything on your mind this week you'd like to see us wrestle with?
Oh, I have some personality questions. How do you deal with a great client where the relationship sort of gets maybe spoiled a little bit by a new staff member brought into a leadership role that doesn't quite understand you? And how do you educate somebody one-on-one when they don't want to be educated?
All right. So the person who owned the relationship at your customer has been replaced with this new stakeholder.
Well, CFO, a leading rep in
that.
leadership, a senior member of leadership, I should say. I still have the ear of the CEO. I still have the backing of most of the staff, but there's just, a personal.
So it's almost like the question I'm hearing, Sam, is how do you sell a new stakeholder in an existing account?
Yeah, without during the sales process and during the onboarding process, there's so much of that communication and training about how you operate and what your value is. And somebody just starts and they've got a vision of what the IT team should look like and their own, personality. That was all.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, the good news is since you're the producer that's taking down everybody's questions, you can write it in the banner however you see fit. Make it short enough to fit on screen. Ian, Jeff, either you want to take a stab at something that you'd like to see make Robert and I squirm?
I have two questions, but I think I'll start with one and not be greedy. And if you guys have time for another, we'll go from there. So we have a full-time BDR. She's been with us for about 3-4 months. We're trying kind of a mix of code call and email sequences. We're also doing a lot of in-person events, so whether it's chamber events or industry-specific events. We're not getting as much traction as I'd like to see with appointments. And I think, personality-wise, she's awesome. She's having a lot of conversations. It's just it's not leading to appointment setting to actually talk about MSP services or AI services or anything we want to sell, right? So I guess that's, my background for a little more context, I've been in the closing role over here since I've been here pretty much. So I feel pretty good about that skill. I've never been in any kind of hunting or lead generation or appointment setting role. So it's kind of the blind leading the blind over here. And I guess I would like to hear what advice you guys might have on things that we should be doing or could be doing differently. And I'll leave it at that question for now. If we have more time, I'll ask my other one.
If we were to condense that question into one phrase, what it sounds like is, how do I get my BDR to book appointments? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
All right, good stuff. And then hold on to your second one, Ian, just in case we have. We'll circle back to it if we have time. We got like 3 minutes to take questions. Jeff, what do you got for us?
Well, I really like these guys, their questions, because that's some stuff that I'm working on and thinking about. But I guess to be a totally different kind of question is, I know you guys do a lot of this sort of thing, right? But if you were to switch over to MSP, not selling to MSPs, right? But what we have to do, as you know, I don't see the hugest value in doing this. For you guys, I do, absolutely, because we're here, right? But for me to get to my client base, I don't think that's how to reach them. So the question is, am I completely wrong?
Can you just tell me what this means? Sorry,
Yeah,
you use a lot of pronouns there.
Doing webinars, LinkedIn posts, open chats, all these things, all the different, instead of just meeting them where they are, going to like the chamber events, meeting people in person, asking clients for referrals. Like I'm still old school that way, because I get results from that.
Sure.
That's where I see where I'm getting my clients and always have. But the question I always have is, am I missing the boat? Have I missed the boat?
Yeah, I think the question is bigger than webinars, Sam. I think, what I'm hearing, Jeff, is there value in an MSP prioritizing social content to reach future customers? Would that be a good way of condensing the thought?
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Great questions. Great. All of them are fun little challenges that I'm excited to dive into here. And disclaimer, Robert and I are not the end all be all, but we're very passionate about the industry. And each of us have been working with MSPs for just a really, really long time. And we've run, especially from the growth perspective, run into a lot of these scenarios and help partners with this stuff all day, every day. So, all right. Thank you, gentlemen. Sam, go ahead and kick everybody else out of the studio, yourself included. And we're going to crack our knuckles and have some fun. Thanks for being here, gentlemen, and asking your questions. And don't be shy in the comments. And if you didn't get a chance to ask your question and you really wish that you had, please drop it in the comments, because if we can get to it, we will. And if we can't, we'll drop it in the queue for next Wednesday, the next water cooler session. So, Robert, just real fast, how do you feel about the questions that we got today?
God, I love them so much. I mean, it's like, these are some of the greatest questions that MSPs have to deal with. And I both love and hate that we're going to give flyby answers to this stuff.
I know.
But, we're here, man. Let's just do it. Let's just dive in.
Each one of these
really good questions.
Each one of these could definitely have their own course, but I think we can do justice, at least from a high level, to these questions. Now, we'll start with our first one. Sam, I would ask you to bring it up, but I think I've already got it for Ron's from last week. So I'll pull this one up, and then Sam, you'll drive from here on out. So Ron asks, what's the hardest part, in your opinion, when switching from owner-led sales to bringing on the first-time salesperson? Should you promote from inside or someone from outside your team? And Ron, when you asked your question again just now, you added a little more nuance to it. So thank you for your question. Robert, I know you have very strong opinions here. You take a crack at it first.
So there's this is a huge one, and there's so much nuance. How, who can you afford? What are you going to trust them to do? Are we talking just a cold caller? Are we talking someone that's going to go out and represent your brand in a networking event? Like, you just got to, so much nuance here. But the three things the first three things that come to mind that you got to be thinking about is, first of all, who's this person going to be? Like, who are they going to be to you? Who are they going to be to your clients and your prospects? Just like, what role are they going to fill, other than get me more money? Like, just imagine who that is. The second one is, like, how are you going to outsales the sales guy? So when you're interviewing and you're trying to find that fit, how are you going to, like, most salespeople approach any job interview like a sale. They're like, I'm going to close the deal. But it's very hard for them to step back and say, like, do I even want to work here? Am I even really a good fit for this? So you have to figure out, how are you going to outsales the sales gal or the sales guy through that selection process. And then the third one is, what example are they going to follow? So, we can have them reinvent the wheel and make it up on their own. But realistically, whose example are they going to follow of what a top tier, A+, top 1% sales professional looks like? What's that example they're going to be shooting for? And so those are the three big things. Again, I'll just go for them, man. Like, who are they going to be, and what is this person role? Like, what are they going to represent? How are you going to find them and not get outsold by the salesperson? And then what example are they following? So that's the first big three. You even just got to think about and decide on that before you spend any money trying to solve that problem.
I completely agree. And that's a really, really succinct kind of starting framework that every MSP business owner can start thinking through right now as they're evaluating that transition. I think I would add, I speak to MSPs all the time, and business owners and IT service providers who have the experience of salespeople that don't work out. And they express frustration with, like, man, this guy had a great resume, maybe even a book of business. He came from enterprise sales. He came from technology sales. He's a real strong people person, and they're just shocked when this person, who on paper had all of the supposed credentials for success in the organization, and they fail. 6 months go by and they've barely had any FTAs, and they definitely haven't closed anything. And anything they did drag kicking and screaming into the pipeline still somehow required you as the owner to get heavily involved. I think there's a couple key reasons here. Number one, you need to remember, you don't sell pizzas, shoes, or a SaaS product you can add to cart and check out. There's a world of difference between an order taker and an entrepreneurial sales professional who knows how to build relationships, position, and faithfully execute on the small things that lead to success in a sales role. So whoever you're evaluating, you need to look for somebody who has an ownership mindset. And I say that because most of you have experienced founder-led growth as the primary path to your sales that have closed. And I attribute that to a couple things. You as the IT business owner have two secret weapons that a lot of salespeople, especially just starting out, do not have. Number one will probably not surprise you: technical acumen. You understand the bits and the bytes of your world. And anyone who steps from outside the industry can learn that stuff. They don't necessarily need to master it in order to sell, but you have a good handle on that. It's more of the what. But the other thing, because most of you are yourselves owners, founders, VPs, you have stake in the business, you possess this thing I call business acumen. And it's the dual threat that an owner possesses, which is why when you get into the boardroom, you somehow find yourself with higher close rates than that kid you hired on your sales team who's never done it before. And even though they might have like the personality traits of a good salesperson, they don't possess those two things. And the business acumen, I'm here to tell you, is far more critical to the sales role than the technical acumen. And because you don't sell a commodity or like a product that I can put in a box, it's all that more important that the buyer perceives you. And I'll steal from Jordan Belfort here, and whatever you think of the guy, but he'll perceive you as sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, and a subject matter expert in your field. And that will all come through crystal clear. A sales professional that's coming from outside the industry, who is not an owner themselves, an entrepreneur themselves, is going to expect and need some stuff from you that Robert just articulated in his three things. So,
and to put a point on that, man, you're totally right. And it's not just that you have a title that says owner. It's that you've gone through all the things. Like, an education always costs something. And so you're not going to just learn how to do those things or be those things or say those things or present those things in a training course. Like, you've gone through the hard thing of growing an MSP to the point where you can hire a salesperson. So all of that leads up to their ability to do that thing. And so again, when you're thinking like, I'm going to pay this much for an SDR to just make cold calls, or I'm going to pay this much to find an account executive that could go out and close business. Regardless, you have to figure out again, like, who's gonna do what and fit in that field, and how much time you give them and all that stuff is really, there's a lot of nuance there, and missing one little piece of it can get it wrong. And then I just want to get to that part you asked, should I hire internally or hire, externally? Like, should I promote, hire, whatever? I would say it's a lot easier to teach the technical than the sales. Sales mastery, to approach sales as a profession like an attorney would, is not a small thing to ask a person to do. So if you're going to promote a senior technical person into a selling role, you have to be sure they're committed to becoming a sales professional and essentially putting the profession that they already have on hold or in a back seat. The Challenger Sale does a fantastic job of laying out a scenario where they took, some company did a whole study where they took a whole group of their middle performers, like hundreds of people, and put them into technical training for a week, and then ran like a 6-month study on them. I'm missing some of these details, but at the end of that 6 months, they actually performed worse as salespeople because they were focused too much on the technology piece of this Venn diagram of sales, executive, and technical. And so understanding how you're going to, again, who you're going to hire and how you're going to ask them to do what part of that is mission critical to their success. That's right.
And the last thing I'll say, related to the hiring and firing part of your question, Ron, and I don't think this is you, Ron, specifically, because I think we've spoken in the past, and I think I've got my finger on the pulse of your mindset here. But this is just so prevalent that when I talk to MSPs, that I feel burdened to bring it up. If you are viewing the hiring of any sales or business development role as somehow you abdicating your responsibility for growing your business, it doesn't matter. It will fail. It will absolutely fail. The true difficult reality is that making a growth engine be successful will require executive buy-in and your commitment. So in some ways, getting it off the ground is actually more work on the part of the founder and the owner than less. It is not like, oh, I'm going to, now I don't have to think about sales because I hired some people to do it for me. No, actually, now you are on the hook to make it work. So you're actually you just gave yourself a sales management job.
Oh, there it is. That's the truth. As soon as you hire a salesperson, you're a sales manager.
That's
right. The question is, how good are you at that job? How committed are you to that job?
And there's some hope there. Anyone can do it, frankly. Anyone can learn it. The committed part that Robert said, that's the piece you have to ask yourself before you hire. Am I committed to hell or high water seeing this be successful in my IT business?
Yep.
And if so, then there's not a thing Robert or I or any other coach or consultant could teach you. You probably couldn't go learn on your own or just learn by doing. The advantage is maybe we've done it before. Maybe we've seen some mistakes that we can help you avoid, but there's no secret sauce to sales. It's been around since the beginning of time. And the way buyers function has not really changed all that much over the course of human history, I would argue. Just the commitment and grit to go out and do it. That's what is key here.
And it's all in the details. The details matter. I don't know if this is true, but somebody once told me that a human and a banana share 97% of the same DNA. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds good. And I think that in the difference is that 3%. And the difference is between you winning a $4,000 a month deal and your competitor getting that $4,000 a month deal is in the single digit, maybe the 0.0 digit percentiles. These deals, these opportunities, the difference between sustaining and doubling your revenue is in these little 1% differences. And so it's not huge sweeping differences that really make or break an MSP when it comes to sales hires. It's in these small little details, these nuances that compound over time to make big differences.
That's right. That's right. Now, for the sake of time, Ron, hopefully that was meaningful. I know I see you in the comments and it sounds like we're preaching to the choir a little bit, and that's really exceptional to hear. So let us know how we can support you in your transition phase. And we believe in you. We know you can do it. We know you're going to kill it. I would like to, because it's somewhat closely related, I would like to jump ahead to Ian's question, Sam. Thank you for pulling that up. So Ian shared with us how he's recently hired a business development rep, and there's some there's a lot of effort that's going into cold outreach. It sounds like some stuff going on with some in-person events through local chambers and whatnot, some cold calls, some emails going out. And the question being something related to how can we get our BDRs to book more appointments? And I know you said a lot more than this, Ian, in your question, how you articulated it. But at the end of the day, the frustration I'm sensing is how do we know what expectations to set? What does success look like? What should we be doing differently? Obviously, Robert, you know my background. We have teams that do hundreds of thousands of cold calls a year and a ton of cold outreach. So I've got some opinions here for sure. But Robert, I'd love to hear from your perspective.
Thank you for letting me go first and take the good stuff. I appreciate that. So one of our coaches recently said this in a sales training course we did, is that a sales manager, which is, by the way, if you're asking this question, you are the sales manager. And you have to ask yourself, if you were a football coach, what do you have when you walk out onto the field, other than just your experience and what are the tools you have? And it's a whistle and a playbook. And so what happens is the playbook is, hey, here's the plan. We're going to do the plan. I'm going to clearly communicate the plan. And if the plan goes wrong, I know what to do. And then the whistle is, hey, you're not following the plan. I'm going to blow the whistle. We're going to stop and we're going to adjust. And that's all we really have in terms of our coaching and our ability to manage people. Is we've got the playbook and we've got the whistle. And so the question is, first of all, can you clearly communicate? And do you know, and is it written down, maybe even your plan? How do you know it's a good plan? When it doesn't work, What are you going to do about it? Who are you going to talk to? Like, what is the plan? And then do you know when to use the whistle? And are you doing it in a way that makes sense and builds or breaks down? And so this idea, like, are you being supportive or instructive? Do you know when you're using the whistle, is it just because you have a feeling about it, or are there logical reasons why you're blowing the whistle now as opposed to some other time? And does your salesperson understand that? These are really important parts of how we're doing these people, because if you were going to go shoot 100-yard, like you're like, oh, I'm going to shoot my rifle at a target 100 yards away, and you pulled the trigger and it didn't go, like, yeah, you can blame the rifle, and maybe there is some defectiveness in that rifle, but as the shooter, you have a huge part to play in this. And so as the coach, you're asking, like, hey, what am I doing? Look at my playbook. I'm going to look at my whistle and my use of that whistle. And that's probably where 80% of the value in any kind of correction is going to come from, is in those two things. But what about you, Skofi? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking so many things, and I love your analogy with the coach on the field and the resources you have, and knowing when and how to leverage them is absolutely key. I want to take a moment to share a phrase that I have I quote myself on this all the time, because it's kind of my battle cry for business development now, and also ties into Jeff's question later. But here it is: where thy prospect is, there thou shalt also be. I will say that again. Where thy prospect is, there thou shalt also be. I will expand on that here in a second, but I'm going to ask a question. Most of you who are IT providers, okay, you typically sell not month to month, right? You have terms associated with your MSA. Most commonly 12 months at least. Some of you do 24, 36, 5-year even, I've seen. So imagine a cold call. Imagine a cold call to your buyer. You have to assume a few things. It's no different than if I was trying to sell AT&T services or Sprint or Verizon. If I call any consumer, I have to assume they already have a phone plan. They already have a phone provider. I think I brought up this analogy last week a little bit. So number one, that is good information your BDR must always be aware of. There is always an incumbent, even if that incumbent is just the status quo of dealing with it themselves. They are dealing with their IT issues somehow, some way right now. They either already have a current provider, they have on-site IT, perhaps there's a co-managed situation. Maybe there's pieces of their IT that they outsource, so they feel like they're all set. Or, their secretary, admin assistant in the front office gets dumped with the password resets and has been told to figure it out. There's some way, there's always some kind of incumbent. So calling them up and saying, hey, do you need IT? The answer is, we're all set. It is always, we are all set. We already have that. We don't need you, right? And even in the rare occasion where they will volunteer, we already have a provider, they will say, we're under contract, right? We have another, and then your BDR might even ask, well, how much longer? Is it 12 months left in your contract? Is it 3 months? Is it 2 months? Is it 5 years? How much longer? If you get the opportunity to ask those questions. So I'm sharing that with you to reframe your expectations for the role of a BDR in this unique industry we find ourselves in. If you sold a software product that solved for X, then you could build a compelling offer into your cold call. It says, well, hey, Mr. Customer, I understand you deal with X. If I could do Y for you, would that be worth Z, right? Which is kind of the stereotypical cold call format that has proven very effective in SaaS. You're not in SaaS. You're in managed services and very partnership-driven relationships. So I want you to reframe your idea from appointments to what I call activations. And I should say, I'm not the only one who calls them this. It's not unique to me, but I definitely have adopted it 100%. The difference between an activation and appointment, okay? Where thy prospect is, there thou shalt also be. The phone is one of those channels. Email is one of those channels. Social media is one of those channels. The local chamber of commerce, one of those channels. their physical office, their country club, the billboards they drive by. All of these are potentially viable channels by which you can earn mental real estate of your future customer. With your BDR specifically, they have certain tools at their disposal by which they can earn mental real estate. Small little slivers, a micron here, a micron there. So going in for the jugular and asking for an appointment, you're basically banking on your BDR calling at exactly the right time. Oh, our contract ends in 2 weeks and we hate our current provider, and I'm so glad you called. That is not only the needle in the haystack, that is the very tip of the needle that you're searching for. It is so rare that you will call somebody who knows what an MSP is, who is actively searching for you and has budget and is ready to buy. That is just bonkers crazy if you're expecting a BDR to be able to generate more than 1 or 2 of those lucky a quarter or a year for people that are ready to go. I'm not saying qualified leads. I'm saying people who are buyers who are ready to cut a check for you right now. And Ian, I know you, and I don't think that's the expectation you have in your head, but you still are with this bind of like, well, what does success look like in this role for this person? That's why retooling your expectations around activations. Well, what's an activation? Well, Ian, in your case specifically, I know that a lot of your customer base are in the AEC industry, architects, engineers, design, construction, those types of folks. So perhaps you have a case study how you helped with file storage and their usage of AutoCAD or some way. And I know for a fact you have stories like this where you came in alongside one of your customers and you helped them with really complex problems. Now an activation for your BDR doesn't look like an appointment on a calendar. It looks like, hey, so if I could show you how we've helped architects reduce the amount of time it takes their engineers to do this and share a story with you, would that be worth your time? Could I send you a 2-page PDF with that? Now, you're not asking for a lot. You're asking for license to talk to them. It's a low entry point, but you're demonstrating competency in their industry, a knowledge of their pain that you know they deal with, and you're giving a compelling offer that can get your foot in the door for a future activation. That's one of a million different examples. And I know I've been preaching a little bit here. The short answer is where your customer is, there thou shalt also be. You need to set expectations with your BDR that their job isn't to build revenue, it's to build connection with your future customer.
Yeah, that 100%. Well, 97%. I'm with almost everything you said. I think that simply this mindset shift. You know, I think a lot of people say like cold calling doesn't work. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't work at what? If what you're trying to do is, go and make a cold call and book a new client, then yeah, it probably doesn't work. At least not in my experience. But the joke is like, man, say if I'm going to hire you as a BDR today, I said, look, I'm not going to give you a quota. You don't got to sell anything. But exactly 1 year from now, you're getting a promotion to an account executive. And if you don't hit your quota for 2 months in a row, you're fired. If that's how I said to do that, which I'm not recommending, but if that's what I was going to do, and I said, for the next year, your job is to build a database of 350 companies where you know the name of the guy that would hire us, you know their employee count, you're absolutely sure they're like an ICP for us, and you know that if you called or emailed them, you would get a response back. Okay, that's your job for the next year. And then a year from now, we're going to hang your quota on that list. And the primary function I want you to do that is cold calling. That could work. That could really work. And guess what? If you're doing that well, you're probably going to find 2 people a week or so, maybe 3, that are like in such bad IT trouble right now, they'll take a meeting and buy from your boss. But that's not really what your job is. Your job is to build that list. Now, I'm not saying that's a way to approach it, but that's one way to think about it. And then if that were the case, your 2 or 3 appointments per week is really just a leading indicator of how good your list is going to be in a year. That's one way to think about it. I'm not saying that's the right way. I'm not saying that's what my clients think. But what I am saying is that we have to understand, again, what is the playbook? What are they building towards? How do I as a coach know if it's working? How do I know when to blow the whistle and for what reason and what I want them to learn when I'm done? Like, these are important things, because a salesperson, if they could figure that out, They're not a salesperson. They're a competitor that hasn't figured it out yet.
You make a really strong point. I will say this. One of the biggest reasons cold calling campaigns fall flat, specifically cold calling, and I would imagine cold email would fall into this as well, is that the data being used is just absolute dog shit. Like you might have this idea of an ideal customer in your head, but if you're going to Zoom Info, you're going to Apollo, you're going to Seamless, you're going to a data warehouse somewhere. And I'm not saying don't use those tools. There is a place for them. We use some of those tools ourselves, but if you're just drawing down cold data that meets a loosely defined ICP, and you're handing this heap of garbage to a BDR and saying, get me 2 appointments a week out of this, there's a high probability that they will be very frustrated because they're churning through so much literal garbage.
This is a real, data is perishable. Like people like to think a phone number is permanent. It's not. If I call a person today and they say, hey, my name is Bob, I'm the CFO, here's my phone number. The moment I collect that, it starts to expire. Because that person might get a new job. They might get a new phone system. They might double in revenue. And now it's hard to get a hold of that guy because he's got an executive assistant. Like data is perishable. We have to keep it fresh.
That's right.
And even the best Zoom Info data was entered at some point in the past. Now, if it was yesterday, it's real fresh. If it was 6 months ago, that's pretty stale. We don't know if it's good anymore.
Well, what was funny is I've used Zoom Info, and actually it's one of the better ones of those types of tools out there. I'm not going to necessarily endorse one or another, but I will say this. I did a demo with Zoom Info years ago, and the company I was with at the time, I was on a demo call with them, and they were showing me like all the sexy business intelligence stuff, and they pulled up my name in Zoom Info. And the thing that was really funny for me and embarrassing for them was our name had changed over 12 months ago. Like our company name had changed because we had made some acquisitions. The branding was all different. My job title was different. And they brought up my record and showed it to my face as an example of how good quality their data was. And I had to tell them, I was like, well, this is unfortunate that this is the one you're showing me. And it's
that's just bad pre-call planning from the sales.
Really was. Really was. So I want to hearken. So I see your question there, Ian, and I want to hearken back to Sam's real fast before we answer yours. Sam asks, isn't that what cold calling is really about? Confirming the list. Isn't that where it starts? I mean, cold calling. So the phone number, the phone has multitude of uses, right? Yep. And there is something to be said for hiring somebody to clean a list. Is that a function of business development or is it a function of marketing? What is it? Well, all I'm telling you is that
depends on the playbook. That depends on the playbook. Yeah.
The playbook and what you're expecting as an outcome from the efforts. Now, if you hand a dirty list to a BDR and you tell them, get me 2 appointments a week with qualified buyers, you are setting them up for failure. Now, if you outsource an intern who can pound through a list to just see who's picking up the phone, that's a different thing. It's like, hey, find out who picks up the phone for me. That's a completely different function. So yes, Sam, you were right. That is one way to use calling, but just be careful if you're baking that into the expectation of the role you're hiring for. Just know what you're asking for and be realistic in your expectations about what outcomes are plausible. So maybe for the first 3 months, that is all they're doing. They're building their list, they're cleaning their list. And now you're going to have a different expectation for the second quarter they're working for you, assuming they're going back to that list that should be cleaner now. Now, let's go to Ian's question. Clarify on clean data. Okay, so the cleanest possible data you can get is you meet somebody at a networking event and they hand you a business card with the most possible up-to-date information.
Gold standard, right there.
Gold standard. Now, the problem with that is it's very, very difficult to scale that. But the advantage is not only are you reasonably confident in the accuracy of the data because it was literally just volunteered to you by the prospect, but now you've had your first connection with them as well.
You have permission to reach out.
They're opted in and they are real and it's accurate. And when you reach out later, there's a higher probability that you'll actually get a conversation out of that. So that's the gold standard. Now, as I said earlier, those contacts are expensive and they are difficult to scale. Expensive in that they require time and they require often monetary investment to go do the things where those people are. But it is absolutely the gold standard when business development. Like if I could, I can make 100 cold calls in a day and talk to 5 to 15 people perhaps, okay, and have meaningful conversations. That is something that I could do every day as a business development rep and have that kind of reasonable expectation that that's my job, right? Or I could go to the local chamber of commerce where there's maybe 30 people in the room and I'll have conversations with 5 to 15 people, but they'll be higher quality. It costs me time to go. It costs me whatever my costs associated with being a member of the chamber are. The gas, all of that.
There's some luck involved.
Luck involved, and making sure the right people showed up at the right time, and how you choose to work a floor. All of that goes into it. But so you can't go to a chamber event every day for 20 business days in a month. That's just very, you can't scale that. So if you work backwards from that gold standard, Ian, for what constitutes clean data, the dirtiest data is just Googling and looking at their company website and guessing at who the right point of contact is and going in with just the company number. Like that's the dirtiest data because there's no confidence or reason to expect that it's accurate outside of generic inboxes and phone trees, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to jump in here and I want to just like, this has been great tactics. I'd love to bring this back up to the thought level because I want to answer this question as specifically as I can. Can we clarify data list, working phone numbers? And really what's in here is what's the expectation? What's the expectation for, a person's activity? Because at the end of the day, we're thinking, hey, I'm going to hire this resource. I'm going to pay him a bunch of money. I'm going to dangle a carrot and have a stick. And I need something out of them. Like understanding what's reasonable is really important because what's happening is we're asking this person to come work for us. And we're saying essentially, I know what's going to work. You're going to be fine. Follow my playbook. That's right. You're saying, if you do this, I'll give you that. And they're trusting us that this is reasonable. Because why else would you spend your money to hire them? Why else would they give you a computer and business cards and a phone line and whatever else comes with it? Why would they allow you? Why would you allow them to represent your brand into the market to strangers if it wasn't a good playbook? So part of this is realistically saying to yourself, is this a playbook that will work if they do the right thing? And so many MSPs hire salespeople and they don't know that answer. Yeah. And it drives me crazy. We've talked about this in the past. So they take ambitious young people who are willing to invest in their future and yours, and then we drop them straight into the deep end and they go, oh, what an idiot. He drowned. He's a bad swimmer. And when it's really not, it's partially their fault and they didn't succeed, but we also sometimes don't set them up well for success. And then we blame them because it's easier than blaming ourselves and taking a look at our contribution to that mess.
And I want to be clear on something. Robert and I are speaking from our experiences with just hundreds of MSPs that we've had these conversations with over the last many years. No one's saying that this is specifically you, Ian, or you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, clean that up for me, buddy.
Yeah, but like the truth of the matter is very, very true. Like to have an entry-level person join your business to generate sales opportunities in this industry is an uphill battle, even when everything's finely tuned in perfect working order and the way it should be done. They are not jumping into an easy job day one. And I would argue it's one of the most critical functions in your growth engine. And we often have like this entry level, anyone can do it mentality, this grunt work we're just going to chuck at, You know, it's equivalent with flipping burgers or digging trenches. It's not.
Mhm.
It requires incredible nuance and determination and commitment. And it requires a significant level of leadership that's willing to get down in those trenches next to them and say, hey, I'm here with you. I'm here for you. We're going to do this together. I'm going to invest in you. And together we will crack this code and you will be successful. Failure is not an option. And for me, for you to fail is not an option. Like, you go in with that mentality, you will inspire the kind of business development rep that will follow you into the gates of hell. And that person will be your next salesperson, and that person may buy you out one day. Anyways, we are at 12:44 already, and we've only gone through 2 questions. So I would like to transition. Last thing I'll say, Ian, is book some time with me because I've got some ideas for you, and I think we should talk. Let's transition to Jeff's question here. What's the value to MSPs to prioritize social content to reach new customers?
Yep.
Take it away, Robert.
Yeah. I don't know who I stole this from. I don't think I made it up. But when people are on a buying journey, the simplest way I can explain it is investigate, evaluate, negotiate. So they investigate their options to see if they have a problem and if it's worth solving. Then if they pass that stage and they go to evaluate, they pick some vendors, some potential solutions to that problem, and they evaluate whether or not it will fix what their problem is. And then if they find one, then they negotiate the terms of deploying that solution to fix their problem. And so my question is, where do you find your LinkedIn being a part of that? So I can tell you, my personal, where I am right now in my business, is all of my LinkedIn. The very fact we're doing this right now on the clock using company resources in our studio is because this content lives for me in the investigate stage. When people are investigating whether or not they have a revenue or growth problem for their MSP, I want them to find what I'm talking about and use it as part of their algorithm for going, do I really have a problem and is it worth solving? And then hopefully it will carry them into that momentum will carry them into evaluate. And they'll choose me as one of the people that might want to evaluate. Now, there's other ways to use your marketing and your social. You could use it purely in the evaluate stage, saying like, well, they've already found me, and now I want to use anything from this marketing social as a reason to choose me. Or you could even do it in the negotiate stage and helping people manage their own expectations around when they hire you, what they should expect to pay or how to engage with you. It really depends on where, but that's my strategies. I've said, hey, I'm going to determine my marketing and my social is all around investigate. I want to provide value to people and help them figure out, do they have a problem and is it worth even solving it? And then other parts of my organization are going to do the rest of it for me. But that'd be my first thing, is when you're trying to think about social, what problem am I trying to solve? What about you, Skofi?
I have evolved, in my opinion, on this question significantly in the last 24 months. If you could tell from my conversation related to Ian's question, a major portion of my career has been being known as the outbound guy, right? Yep. Cold calling. That's been my hammer to the nail of how you get customers. And I still believe in it. But in the last 18 months, for the first time in my career, I'm experiencing the blessing of inbound leads, where people will see me do something with Robert or with Matthew Fish that I did something earlier with this week, and they'll come to me. I'll get a couple times a week, I'll see something pop onto my calendar, and it says that they came to me from LinkedIn. I'm like, great. And then I ask them when they show up, it's like, hey, how do we know each other? It's like, oh, I saw you do that thing. Now, you made a comment, Jeff, that, oh, man, it totally makes sense for you and Robert to do this, but maybe not for MSPs. Am I wrong, you're asking? I want you to envision that you are in a canoe on a peaceful lake, okay? And you look over the edge of your canoe in this one little inlet bay area in the lake, and there's some reeds there, and you see some fish down there. There's fish, and you're there to catch fish. That's why you're in this canoe, okay? There's fish down there. You maybe don't know the best way to get them into the boat, but what will separate the fishermen from the people that dream about having fish are going to be the ones who attempt to get the fish in the boat. And eventually you're going to learn there's some things that get fish in the boat. And then there's some things that scare the fish away. And then there's other things that the fish just don't even care about, right? And what the fish will respond to is an exercise in patience and iteration and discovery. And none of that is easy, and all of that takes time. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is, are my ideal customers engaging in social media in some way? I'm here to tell you there's actually some industries where your buyers are not as engaged on LinkedIn as they might be on other platforms. So you could be barking into the void if you don't have your ideal customer there. Now, I will tell you, as younger generations are stepping into leadership roles at these organizations, that it is absolutely changing, and that these folks grew up with social media and they consume an absolute truck ton of content through social media. And if your buyers are there thou shalt also be, Jeff.
Yeah, there it is. That's the phrase.
But it's not easy. I'm here to tell you, it took me all of 24 months of grinding on social media, consistently creating content and building my own methodology for the types of content that I'll create and who I'm creating it for and how I will distribute it before people started volunteering and raising their hands and saying, hey, I want to talk to you. So I'm not gonna make it sound like it's a piece of cake, like, it's going to require a concentrated effort. If you're not the person at your MSP to spearhead this, you should find somebody. Now, I'll go back to what we said earlier, though. For a lot of you, you're still in the founder-led growth stage. And Sam made a comment. Where's your comment, Sam? You said establishing yourself as a subject matter expert is extremely important. Yeah, you have an opportunity in your target market to position yourself as an authority. Why would you not? It is outside of the time, and I'm not trying to minimize the amount of time it takes. It does take a crap ton of time, but it is one of the lowest cost channels to get the attention of your buyer.
Yeah.
Like, it is just so
lowest
stupid
dollar
inexpensive.
cost, I'm gonna say, but maybe not lowest emotional cost. Look, Skofi and I are doing this because literally I didn't prep for this. I just showed up, he hit broadcast, and I'm like, woohoo, because I'm a weapons grade extrovert. Like, this isn't a problem for me. Maybe this would give Jeff hives. So like I think a part of this is understanding how you, like, what is a good cost internally to do this. Maybe it'd be better for you to write blog posts and post them on LinkedIn. Maybe that's where that social element plays up. But it's probably also true, I'm guessing, for almost every MSP on this call, if you could round up 5 or 6 perfect clients in a year, you'd make substantial gains in your revenue. So, is this where you're going to do that? I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know your MSP. But, where does this idea of the FOMO around social, I'm just going to be honest, a little vulnerability here. Brian Gillette, who I'm not related to, I'm super jealous of his marketing. I see his marketing and I go, oh, I wish I was that good, but he's trying to do a different thing than I am right now.
That's right.
And he's really successful in his lane because that's what works for him. If I tried to be him, I would probably fail because it's not who I am and what works for me. And so, especially when it comes to social media, it is scientifically designed to create FOMO. It's scientifically designed to make you feel like you're not doing it right or enough, and to do more, and you'll just get what you need if you just engage with the platform more. And I don't know if that's always true. So I just encourage you to maybe weigh some of that in, whoever is thinking about, man, I'm watching this live stream and I should do more live streams. I don't know, maybe. But, don't let the algorithm convince you you're wrong.
The other I absolutely agree with you, Robert. I agree. And I love your weapons grade extrovert comment. For any introverts watching, let me just assure you, and a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them this. If Robert's a weapons grade extrovert, I don't think I'm a weapons grade introvert, but I absolutely am introverted. So it actually costs me quite a lot emotionally and psychologically to put myself out there, and I've learned and disciplined, and I've seen the value in it. So I do the work, and it's good. I don't begrudge myself it. I do enjoy it to a degree, but it does not gas me up the same way it might others. So I'm saying if I can do it, anyone watching this call who really has a desire to squeeze the value out of social media that they can learn it as well. Yeah, thanks, Sam. I guess that's good. I don't know. But here's the other thing I will tell you. Consistency, authenticity, and knowing what your customers give a crap about. Okay. So consistency, if you just post once a month, there's a high probability that your audience will not see it, will not engage with it. So if you're going to get the value out of it, it's the thing you have to do at least a couple times a week. And you're like, oh man, I got to come up with stuff to say a couple times a week. Well, I'm going to call you out, Jeff, just a little bit as somebody that I personally know has very strong opinions on a great many things. And I know, having received, and I love these calls, by the way, not all of my partners just call me out of the blue like Jeff does. I love these calls. Just like, did you see that thing on LinkedIn? That's crazy. And like, dude, yes, I agree. This is great. Deep insight. I love it. Tell the world how you feel. Like
Repost, with your thoughts.
You don't have to like capture some muse of inspiration and share something incredibly new and refreshing and profound to have something meaningful to say, and something meaningful that your customers will appreciate saying, something that's authentic, that's coming from you. So please don't use ChatGPT to create your content for you. Please just don't. There is no soul there. You have a soul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying don't use it to shape thoughts or give you ideas, but let what comes to your customers and prospects come from you. Let it come consistently. And then, all right, I'm going to say it. Most of your clients do not care about MFA or your new sexy risk assessment. So if you're going to talk about cybersecurity, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, you should, but you need to package it from the vantage point of who your customer is and the way and reason they should care about it. Talk about it in terms that make sense to them. If you're just generically saying, well, AI, cyber, assessment, they will tune you out because you're not the only one saying that to them, and they don't care. So consistency, authenticity, and what do your customers want to hear? All right.
Are they even there?
Are they even there? And that will require some market research. By the way, you can ask your customers. You can go to them and say, hey, what social channels are you active on? Yeah. And how active are you? All right. We are out of time. Sam, you had a great question as well. Let's keep that in the bank for next Wednesday. Everybody, I very much appreciate the questions you brought. Hopefully this was valuable to you. Join us next week, 12 Eastern, Wednesday, for the MSP water cooler. We're going to end the stream. There'll be a little outro. Actually, I still don't have an outro video yet. Nope. One day I'll have an outro video. We'll catch you at the next one. Be well.